I've always hated mirrors. Not because I was vain, but because I could never quite trust what I saw in them. It started subtly. A second delay. My reflection would lag ever so slightly behind my movements, like it was catching up. I blamed it on my mind, fatigue, or poor lighting. But over time, the delay grew. I noticed it not only in my bedroom mirror, but in every reflective surface. Bathroom, office window, even my phone screen. I tried moving faster. Jumping, waving, blinking quickly. The reflection lagged consistently, always a second behind, mimicking me but with a faintly off rhythm, almost mocking. One night, exhausted from work, I leaned toward the bathroom mirror. My reflection smiled when I didn't. A small, unnerving curl at the corner of its mouth. I jerked back. Nothing, just the normal mirror, silent and still. I rationalized it. Stress, maybe sleep deprivation. Days later, I noticed more anomalies. Items reflected were slightly misaligned. I'd reach for a glass on the counter, but in the reflection, my hand would stop short. Objects in the mirror would move differently, almost subtly, but definitely not exactly like the real world. I tested it. I grabbed my phone, aimed the camera at the mirror. My reflection stared directly at the lens, and then, just for a moment, it wasn't following me. It looked back at me independently. Panic began to set in. I stopped looking into mirrors. But mirrors were everywhere. Every time I caught a glimpse, hallway, elevator, store window, I'd freeze, watching that lagging version of myself move slightly out of sync. One evening, I left the house in a rush. Passing a full-length mirror in my hallway, I glimpsed my reflection standing still while I ran. It didn't move at all. And then Bit smiled. I ran out and never turned back. I still see it though. Not in mirrors I avoid. Not in glass I cover. It waits in reflections, delayed by seconds, always watching, always just behind, like it's learning, preparing, counting time. And I can't shake the feeling that one day, it won't be behind anymore. The first time I noticed it, the delay was minuscule. I caught it while brushing my teeth. My hand moved to scrub the toothbrush against my teeth, and my reflection's hand followed a fraction of a second later. I told myself it was impossible. Mirrors don't lag. The room wasn't shaking, the light was stable, and yet there it was. I froze, stared, and experimented, slow movement, fast movement. No matter how I moved, my reflection consistently trailed. The strange part wasn't just the delay, it was how deliberate it felt. It mimicked me perfectly, only slightly late, as though testing my perception. That night, I barely slept, haunted by the image of my reflection, slightly out of sync, a perfect copy doing everything after me. I began to dread mirrors, yet I could not avoid them entirely. Every reflective surface became a trap waiting for me to notice, a reminder that something fundamental about reality was shifting right before my eyes. By the second week, the delay increased slightly. Now, I could notice it even without careful observation. My reflection would blink a second later, yawn a second later, or hesitate when I raised my hand. I started tracking patterns. Mirrors everywhere. Bathroom, bedroom, hallway. Even shop windows reflected me with a faint lag. At first, I tried rationalizing, fatigue, eye strain, optical illusion. But the lag didn't fluctuate. It was consistent, deliberate. I tested it with objects. Placed a cup on the counter. My reflection's hand hovered as though it hesitated, then reached. The room around the reflection seemed just slightly different. Shadows shifted a bit too late, angles subtly misaligned. Anxiety gripped me. Every reflective surface felt alive, patient, and calculated. I began avoiding mirrors, yet I couldn't fully escape them. Every encounter amplified a chilling realization. The reflection wasn't passive. It observed. It anticipated. It delayed. And it seemed to respond, not just copy. The third week escalated things further. My reflection began exhibiting subtle independent actions. I tested it. Flinched suddenly, moved my head rapidly. Its copy was behind, but sometimes, just for an instant, it seemed to hesitate, not lag, hesitate. Then it would smile slightly when I didn't, tilt its head unnaturally, pause longer than it should. Mirrors I hadn't even considered became portals. Phone screens, glossy tables, windows. Every reflective surface showed the same anomaly, delayed, deliberate, and uncanny. I began losing trust in my own perception. Objects reflected differently, chairs slightly shifted, paintings leaning differently. My reflection seemed increasingly aware, independent in ways I couldn't fully describe. The anticipation was palpable. My reflection was not just following me. It was learning, analyzing, and gradually stepping out of temporal alignment with me. Every mirror was a reminder of my own helplessness. Then, one evening, I faced my reflection directly. In my bedroom mirror, lit only by the faint streetlight, I moved my hand slowly, expecting the usual delay. But it didn't lag. It froze while I moved, staring. Its eyes locked on mine independently, separate from my movements. Panic surged. I stepped back. It mimicked me again, now with the usual lag, but that moment of independent awareness broke my sense of reality. I covered mirrors. I avoided windows. But reflections exist everywhere. Any glass surface, shiny table, or polished tile revealed its lagging, watching presence. It seemed patient, persistent, observing me through seconds of delay, as if studying me, waiting for me to falter or misstep. Sleep became impossible. My mind constantly calculated mirrors, reflections, and their timings. Every reflective surface felt like a trap. Every lag a countdown. The awareness that it could act independently was unbearable. Finally, it became undeniable. The reflection was not me. It mimicked me only in lag, but occasionally acted independently. The lag was a mask, hiding its own agenda. One night, in a full-length mirror, it stopped moving entirely while I adjusted my hair. It tilted its head, smiled faintly, and blinked after me. Not in sync, not as a copy, but as its own entity. I ran, terrified, avoiding reflective surfaces. Yet, in every window or phone screen, I catch glimpses. Always behind, always observing. Its behavior is deliberate, methodical, and patient. It is learning my movements, my habits, my patterns. The lag is no longer harmless. I can feel it waiting for the moment it won't follow. One day, the delay will end. One day, it will move independently in the real world, and I will no longer recognize the difference between me and my reflection. That thought haunts me constantly. I stopped using mirrors entirely. Friends think I'm paranoid. Family worried. I just tell them stress is affecting me. Sometimes late at night, I catch a glimpse in a window or phone screen. And there it is. A second behind, watching, smiling faintly. Always waiting. And I know one day, it won't be a second behind anymore.